What would you wear to talk about fashion? I'm just asking for a friend. Actually, the answer to that is very kind and very easy when relational fashion psychology is on our side. Let me explain. Picture this. I'm in a national park, Colorado's Garden of the Gods. The mountains are glowing in the background, and all of the hikers are walking by in the same Patagonia vest. And I'm sitting there, writing about fashion psychology in a full business suit. The whole corporate package. My blazer, my slacks, my loafers. Why? Traffic. I'm just waiting it out. You see, I'm a relationship therapist and I research the relationship that we have with our clothing. And that day, when I left the office, I decided to go to the Garden of the Gods and wait out traffic. And my therapy outfit that day was not technically uncomfortable, but it wasn't technically great for walking and hiking. And my discomfort was not physical, it was social. You see, the majority of the places that I go, clothing is not optional. And since clothing is the way that we show up with our identity and our social belonging, I decided not to ignore my discomfort that day, because that would have been an act of self dismissal. And anyone who's ever been targeted for what they're wearing or given unsolicited fashion advice knows what it feels like to have your identity jeopardized. So instead, I leaned in and I listened to what it was that was going on with me, because my work focuses on finding and identifying and befriending the parts of us to balance out what unsolicited fashion advice and fashion marketing has taken from us. So I sit down and I did what any writer does. I asked some questions. Why is it that we dress so differently when we're alone than when we're at home? Why does fashion feel so heavy and so light at the same time? And who is it that we're actually dressing for? So I took all of those questions and I wrote an article asking these same questions. All right, I want you to picture this. You're the only person in the world. What are you going to wear? For 1 month, you have access to everything that you do now, but you're not going to see anybody. What would you wear on your body? What would you wear or not wear on your face? And what would you do that was different than what you do now? Now I want you to just think about one person, the first person that pops into your mind, and add them back into the scenario. What do you change? What do you notice about what's on your feet? What's in your hair? Now, I want you to add in a whole group of people, strangers. What do you change? You might be asking, well, what are we doing? Or what's the schedule? Or what the weather is like? And those are all really good questions. So I took all of that and I sat down that day and I wrote an article that I was lucky enough to have published. And it gets downloaded all over the world. So I thought, maybe this is worth pursuing a PhD in. So I sat down and I asked a bunch of people, what is the relationship that you have with clothing? And here's what I heard over and over again. Number one, the relationship that we have with our clothing is inseparable from the relationship that we have with our bodies. The way that we feel about our body mirrors the way that we reflect fashion. So that when we look in the mirror, we're not just seeing a shirt or some slacks. We don't see fabric. We see an immediate feedback of our bodies. And when we trivialize the relationship that we have with fashion, we jeopardize trivializing the relationship that we have with our bodies. Number two, we dress for total strangers. We dress for people that we may never talk to. When we say, I dress for myself, what we're saying is, I dress for the conversations that I want to have or avoid with other people. When we say, I dress for myself, what we mean is, I dress authentically for the way that I want to show up for comfort, for safety, to hide, to edit, or to fit in. And number three, when other people talk about fashion, specifically what you're wearing, they're really only telling you about themselves. When anybody talks to you about your outfit or fashion, your parents, your siblings, your friends, they're just telling you about them, their experiences, their generational understanding of fabric, the way that they feel about their bodies. Even professionals, the articles that we read in fashion magazines, and the people whose job it is to tell us what to wear. Whether they have hundreds of years of stories or even that sordid fashion history that we all have to think about, they're still just telling you about them and the conversation that they've chosen to be in. So I took all of that data and I walked into my own closet and I looked at all of the things that I hate but that I wear all the time. And I looked at all of the things that I love but I've literally never worn. And I look at all the things that definitely could work but never do. And those things that I buy for that fantasy scenario, the one where I have all the time in the world to fix my hair and my makeup, and the weather's really nice, and my schedule's really easy, and I'm going to have really kind interactions with strangers. And I wore all of it. I have this red dress that I love that's been hanging in my closet for 5 years with the tags still on it. I wore it to the grocery store. And I listened to the conversations that I was having about myself. And the part of me that was so deeply embarrassed that I would choose to wear something that was wrong. And that part had some things to say about my body. And I listened to the part of me that was so excited about the fantasy of wearing something that I loved. And I even had a conversation with someone who didn't live in my head that day. And I remember that conversation. And I cherish it. And I look forward to more of those because I went home and I wore every other thing in my closet that I've never worn. And I learned what were truths about the way that I feel about fashion and my body and what things were lies. And the things that were lies that were specific to me is that I'm too old to wear that, or that that's just not quite right for me yet, or that's too nice for me to wear today. And I learned the things that were very true for me, that I do dress for my body, the one that I have today, the one that carries me through the world, and to honor my schedule, and to be bold and fun sometimes, and sometimes to hide. And I definitely dress for the people that I do and don't want to have conversations with, and now I'm very aware of that. I also know that I'm going to get to learn about everyone that I interact with because of the way that they interact with what I choose to wear. So, my invitation to you, the next time that you're doing your mandatory daily dressing, is to listen to the internal conversations that you have about yourself and to start to notice the external conversations that you're entering into with strangers. For example, I'm in a conversation with all of the ladies in my Pilates class, even though I've never talked to any of them, even though we're all wearing black leggings. I'm sure half of us would rather be wearing something that's more joyful or more colorful, but those black leggings are really good at hiding our sweat and covering our cellulite. So we all do that together. Or my uncle, who is in a conversation with his friends who think that khaki shorts and a short sleeve polo is a perfect uniform for people who don't have to think about fashion or have never had to think about the way that their body moves to the world. And those conversations are equally as important, whether you choose to be in them or whether you're in a completely different conversation. It's important because every single outfit you wear is a sentence in your fashion story, and we see that our fashion story is directly related to the way that we feel about our bodies, and that does affect our mental health. And I'd like to say, you guys are all doing beautifully, and I think that we should celebrate that more often. So let me tell you why it was easy for me to get ready today. I got ready because I was thinking about how excited I was to be honored to have a conversation with you. And I also got to honor my body and the long car ride that I had on the way here and the level of comfort that I wanted to have. And I decided that I didn't want to fully blend into the background. I'm also going to go see a play after this and eat chicken wings, so I dressed for that. But that day in the Garden of the Gods, I hadn't yet befriended the part of me who wanted me to be kind to my body. I hadn't yet balanced the conversation between kindness, dressing for strangers, and my identity. So, thank you so much for being here and being a part of my story. And more importantly, thank you so much for wearing yours.